I'm running on fumes and beer right now. Hello and welcome to All Comics Considered, episode 60. Hooray! I'm Marty, and I'm going to buy myself an airplane. That's from Steven's Universe, guys. That's what Amethyst says. I've watched it. Nothing. I get nothing. I got a head nod from Tim.
I'm Nick, and I can't pronounce inimitable. Inimitable. Damn you, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Inimitable.
I'm Tim, and I have a Snow White tan and animal grace.
This week, everybody, we're going to catch up what we've been up to. We're going to talk about our favorite absurd death traps, not just the 2016 election. Feature 1 will be featuring Doubled Up Heroes. And we'll end the show with the Pullbox, so we can leave y'all with something incredibly positive. But first, Tim, what you been up to this week?
I've been playing a lot of Diablo 3 in preparation for us all playing Diablo 3, which we said we were going to do, we've never done.
We're going to do it. It's been a week. It's been a busy week.
That, and I've been spending a lot of free time. I'm spending a lot of time still at the Sea Elements chorus, and trying to hone my craft, as it were.
Cool. Nick, what have you been up to this week?
Let's see. I finished up the first season of Dark Matter, which actually was really enjoyable. And I fired up the first season of Killjoys, which is also pretty enjoyable. They're similar shows, but different enough that they're not just, super repeats. They're definitely not the best shows I've ever seen, but, they're enjoyable and watchable sci-fi.
Cool.
I don't know. Dark Souls 3.
Whereas I have been playing a little bit of Rise of Iron, a little bit of Legion, reading here and there, and projects that I can't talk about yet. So let's move on from what we've been up to our favorite absurd death traps. Nick, you write up most of our segment and feature ideas, so why don't you introduce this one for us?
Yeah, so one of my favorite shticks from comics since I was a little kid was always just the super ridiculous villain schemes that people, the villains put people through. The classics being... I'm wanting to say Mojang, but that is not not the guy's name. Mojo, yeah, the guy that pulls them onto the island and throws them through the X-Men onto the island and puts them through the battle royale scenario. I think that was Mojo, right?
Mojo, and he then films it for ratings.
Yeah,
yes.
for a reality TV show,
which is awesome.
I have this really enduring memory of Colossus being in some kind of weird death trap that would kill him unless he, the way out of it was for him not to have his steel skin on because it reduced his size enough that he was able to slip through lasers or something. I don't really remember, but I love just those absurd Rube Goldberg kind of scenarios. And Tim actually pegged my second favorite of these for his, as well as kind of it was the inspiration for the topic. What's your favorite absurd death trap, Marty?
Mine is pretty much just throwing somebody or, delivering somebody into the sun or any sun, depending where you are. like there was even it's all part of the plot of All-Star Superman where he has to. It's a death trap for him because eventually it will kill him, but he flies into the sun. Because like I've always been fascinated by the fact like the corona of the sun is technically hotter than the surface of the sun. So like you're gonna melt before you get close to the sun, but you're still gonna go into the sun, and I just think that's funny.
It's not that it's hotter. It's that I believe the particles have a greater density there. So
yeah, you skip the actually in adjusting your glasses on the motherfucker.
I mean, I'm also interested in that. I remember learning that fact in science class.
I remember like it in my 9-year-old brain. It's hotter, but yeah, that also makes total sense. But like you'll burn up before you get to the sun, so throwing something into the sun is kind of ridiculous. Not what they mean, but throwing you into the corona doesn't sound as cool. So, but I love it, and I'm trying to think of like the Silverhawks, which we talked about briefly a couple episodes ago. They had that really amazing plot line where, like, the green guy had to come back in time to save our Silverhawks so that they could go on to do other cool missions. And it was like flying into the sun, time travel, and like weird country western rock and roll, because of course the country western dude had to play guitar at some point in that mission. So yeah, flying into the sun, my favorite death trap.
And getting thrown into the corona sounds like something they do to you in Milwaukee.
It sounds like something they do to you in Cabo San Lucas as they make you drink from shitty beer taps with a crappy beer bong.
I think my favorite thing about that is that's just how Superman does his dry cleaning.
Just
flies to the sun.
Yeah,
had some crud. Getting rid of it.
Got a little bit of like, Lex Luthor's blood on him. It's like it's going to go fly to space through the sun.
That's what he does.
Tim, why don't you go next?
When I was a kid, one of my first comics I ever got was X-Men number 123, which featured sort of third-stringer villain Arcade, very much in the tradition of the Batman villains, very similar to Joker, very similar to the guy with the question marks on his body.
Riddler?
Okay. Arcade's shtick was that he would, for a fee, capture heroes or whomever, and then stick them into murder traps. And then, true to his name, they would usually be things like simulated arcade video games. But in this case, it was a murder world based off a pinball machine. And so we had Colossus, and we had Wolverine, and Cyclops, and Storm, and Nightcrawler, and Banshee dealing with giant balls that were electrified, and if they got hit, they would be shocked. And furthermore, they also got split off into their own specific rooms where they had terrible traps they had to overcome. And the only one that I really remember off the top of my head was the murder room where Colossus was stuck under some bright lights, and he was brainwashed to become the proletariat, and his mission was to kill the X-Men because he had betrayed the mother one.
That's why this is familiar, because you made me read those.
Yeah. So that's my favorite thing.
I love Arcade in the Hickman Fantastic Four run because he's like, no, I've totally reformed, and here's my toy shop, and on the opening day, of course, it's a giant trap to kill everybody. So it was like pretty funny.
Arcade never change.
No.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of those just really stupid villains that everybody loves anyway, Like, it's
true.
But yeah, Arcade was 100% the inspiration for this topic, because it was specifically I remember the cover with the giant pinball machine, and I would hunt down issues of the X-Men with Arcade in them, just because I loved those weird death traps so much. My particular favorite death trap is actually only sort of a death trap, but it's the X-Men's Danger Room. I always wanted more of the Danger Room than they would ever give me. The idea of a room that shaped its challenges based on who was in it and their capabilities at any given time was just super fascinating to me. Even when you go back to like the very beginning of the X-Men, back when the Danger Room was a little bit more, I don't know, I guess dangerous, and a little more low tech. It was still really interesting watching the characters train in there and test their skills.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was all robots and giant bullets and missiles and things like that. And then after Professor Xavier hooked up with the Shire, whatever the fuck, they had
Shi'ara.
Sure, why not? They
The
had
bird people.
The bird people. After he got his bird on, they granted him super technology, so they have, solid holograms and shit like that. It was like it was just like a Star Trek Next Generations.
Yep.
Wasn't it?
They just every time they used after that, every time they showed the Danger Room, they were just fighting Sentinels in there.
Pretty much.
But wasn't it in Whedon's run where he basically said, yeah, the upgrade comes from the fact that they had a hyper-intelligent alien trapped there? Like, Danger is now an actual character?
So what happened was that the computer that did all this stuff became sentient.
Yeah.
Actually, back in the 60s or 70s or wherever the timeline had shifted to. And Charles had figured that out and suppressed it. Basically trapped it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
because Xavier is evil and a villain.
yeah. So he denied a sapient being their life. And that was one of the reasons why he was kicked out of the X-Men. My Scott's like, go fuck off. You're terrible.
You could tell that I've been an Avengers fan. But yeah, way to go, Charles. Way to represent dickishness. Future episode, which hero is the worst? Because right now it's Charles Xavier, Reed Richards, and we can probably throw in at least one other.
Tony Stark.
Batman.
Tony Stark.
Tony Stark? Anyway, let's move on.
Our next feature is called Double Mint Gum. 2 of each hero makes reading more fun. Let's talk about 2 Caps, 2 Hulks, 2 Spider-Men, 2 Hawkeyes, 2 Iron Men, 2 Wolverines, multiple Supermen, Batman Incorporated, and Team Flash.
I take it that there are people who don't like this.
Yeah. I kind of ran across some of this today. What's up, Toffer? I know you're listening because you said you were going to listen. And I am super pro this because what is happening over at Marvel is when we have 2 Caps, we have a white cap and a black cap. We have 2 Hulks, we have a female Hulk, She-Hulk, which is coming up in December, and we have Korean Hulk. We have black Hispanic Spider-Man and white Spider-Man. We have 2 white Hawkeyes, 1 male, 1 female. We have a black female Iron Man, aka Ironheart, and we have Dr. Doom as Iron Man, which is weird. We have Old Man Logan, and we have Laura as Wolverine as well. I don't know about multiple Supermen. I don't care about those guys. Oh wait, except for Chinese Superman, who I do care about.
And then Lois Lane is also a Superman. Got Superman-like powers, and then the original Superman is back in the Rebirth universe.
And Batman has his crew of Bat people, which he always has.
The Bat family.
That's actually sort of what I want to talk about with this particular topic. I'd always, previous to this sort of relatively new development, I'd always considered superhero titles kind of mantles that are passed down. With each character having a different spin on it, each different person having a spin on what it means to be like Captain America or Spider-Man. But it's a singular sort of title and position. And now I'm really wondering whether they are starting to push more in the direction that Batman has, like Tim said, has been going for a long time, where you have, the Batman or, whatever that particular iteration of his Bat Army is called.
So when it comes to Hawkeye, both are Hawkeye. That's just how it is. Like, that's what Fraction set it up. That's how Lemire continued it. That looks like what it's the direction it's going to be when the new book starts. When it comes to Wolverine, we've got all new Wolverine and we've got Old Man Logan. Only one of those people is really Wolverine. The mantle has been passed in this regard, and Laura has it. And anybody who doesn't like it can get behind her or get in front of her and tell that to her face, and she'll kick you with her toe claw. When it comes to Captain America, this is a little bit of tinfoil hat, people, so buckle up. I honestly believe, and I'm not the only one out there who believes that, like, next summer, the big event will be about Captain America, Steve Rogers, and hopefully his redemption. But the Sam Wilson book is basically about how white America would not handle a black Captain America very well, and they're trying to, quote unquote, take back the shield. And Sam Wilson will not give back the shield because Steve gave it to him for a reason. And they're exploring something there that is very difficult for comics and comics people to often get into. But our listeners are smart enough and socially active and aware enough to want to get into it.
And you're beautiful and you smell good, too.
You do. And you make excellent life choices 99% of the time. We don't need to talk about that 1%. And, with Spider-Man, I think you're getting closer to the Batman type of style, right? Because it's not just, I see you shaking your head, but hold on. In Spider-Man, you've got the Web Warriors who are bouncing around the interdimensional web to fix it. You've got Miles, he was originally took the mantle. It wasn't passed to him. He took the mantle of Peter from the Ultimate Universe, and now he is Spider-Man for real in 616, where Peter's the Amazing Spider-Man and is basically now very much an Iron Man, Tony Stark kind of figure, except nowhere near as suave or as psychopathic as Tony is.
Peter did actually pass the mantle to Miles.
Right. I thought that was, but it wasn't like right away.
No. It was after Miles started, but there was an official, like, you keep being Spider-Man moment.
Right. Was that 616 Peter or Ultimate Peter?
It was Ultimate's Peter.
All right. Does that count?
Yeah.
Because that guy's dead. Yeah. He's not around anymore.
I think 616 Peter is totally fine with Miles.
I think so too.
I mean, that's pretty much like they had a run in 3. It was a Spider-Man 3, and it wasn't like he was like, "What did you do?" But it was more like it worked out. So it wasn't like
he did complain that his costume was cooler than Pete's, which is
true.
Yeah. Yep.
What's cool about what Marvel is doing right now, I mean, we're going to have 2 Thors, Thor the real one and Thor the Unworthy. We're going to get the ability to explore different books. Fans who refuse to move on will be happy, and fans who are all about, like, let's see what we can do with this are also going to be happy. I don't know. I find that, like, I might be the only one on the team that really still likes Nick Spencer, but I really like what he's doing with both books. He's funny. And I think he's trying to do some important stuff. I don't know if he's succeeding perfectly, but I think it's working.
So all I wanted to say about this was that I'm seeing a certain amount of anxiety from white dudes that are comic fans about this, and I encountered it today. And I think just most of it is the word that was used was it's being forced. Right, and you're making that face, and what they're saying is you're going too fast. I'm very uncomfortable, and I'm sitting here going, "Well, no, it's not too fast. It's about time. It's 2016. Come on."
There hasn't been a forced story of any of the characters that I have read so far. Definitely not the ones that we've mentioned. The process by which Amadeus Cho becomes the Amazing Hulk didn't seem incredibly forced.
They're using the word forced differently than you're understanding it.
Oh, okay.
They're saying it's too fast. There's too many too soon. Please go at a slower rate so I can deal with it. And of course, all of us are going, that's absurd. It's been long due. Keep going.
The medium has been around for almost a century.
Right, right. Minorities didn't just happen in 2000. We've been around for a while.
What? Holy crap, Tim! You're Asian. When did that happen?
Incredibly, yeah.
Yeah.
It happened in 1972.
Look, the mantle has been passed to other characters before, and it's always been like, for the most part, and at least for the ones I can think of, white dude to white dude, right? Like Barry Allen to Wally West, or we've got Steve Rogers losing and getting the shield back is a fairly regular process of story. I mean, there's U.S. Agent Walker, who is not well. And then, Falcon was Captain America a little bit before, but then now Sam is officially
Batman and his 17 Robins.
Right. But, like the whole idea, Dick Grayson was supposed to eventually become Batman, and that's not going to happen that way. The stories have progressed to the part where if you think it's too fast, I don't think it would ever be slow enough for you to appreciate it. Some of these stories have been building up to this for a very long time. Remenders was probably Remender taking Sam into Captain America was probably the best example of like why you shouldn't do this stuff as slow as it happened, because it was poorly paced. I found not a lot of success to Remender's Cap run, whereas Nick Spencer has gone all out and just thrown all sorts of crazy stuff at Sam, and it's been phenomenal. Yeah, so Forrest, I just don't... I guess, like, without hearing it or reading it, like, what makes it forced?
The forced part is that they're scared that all these minorities and women are going to quote-unquote, take over, and white guys will be left out in the cold and have no more heroes. That's the anxiety. That's not what's happening. I just outlined it in the beginning of the segment. There's always a white guy equivalent to the not white guy.
Right.
More or less.
Right.
I will say that there is one minority character who feels very, very forced to me.
Howard the Duck?
And that is... No, it's Betsy Braddock!
Oh! Yeah. Yeah. Tim, would you like to remind everybody who Betsy Braddock is?
Betsy Braddock is a British, young British lady with purple hair. Her brother is Captain Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's it. That's all there is. Nothing ever happened after that.
I was hoping you were going to say she's...
There is only one Matrix movie.
I was just kind of hoping you were saying that she's the Rachel Dolezal of the Marvel Universe.
Everyone knows my feeling about Psylocke.
I know, but I wanted you to say it.
She's a fake Asian.
Right.
She's a Phasian.
So that is an example of something that's forced.
Yeah. Yeah. And gross.
And I can't believe that they haven't fixed this yet. It's been fucking years for them to get it right, and they haven't fixed it. And it's really, really gross. So for our listeners who don't know, I'll give you the real story. The real story is so goddamn convoluted, but basically she dies or something, and she gets reborn as an Asian in body.
Her consciousness, I think, got put into.
Why not? And so she comes back in an Asian body, and so that's it. And now instead of wearing, a blouse and using butterfly psychic powers, her powers get transformed, and she uses samurai swords, and she dresses in an S&M outfit, because that's what Asian women do. The end.
Man, one of you two should do a dissertation on Psylocke and what it represents, because this is just...
Well, what it represents is the exotification of Asian women in media, right? Mm-hmm. And so instead of even just, having an Asian woman, you have this weird, fucked up fusion that plays towards men's sexual fantasies. So you get a woman that looks Asian, has American or has Western mores and values, and this becomes the perfect sexual object. Mm-hmm. And it's disgusting, and it's ridiculous, and it's and she's well overdue for a revision and an examination.
Agreed.
I don't know, man. Marvel has a weird problem with Asians.
Amadeus Cho and Maddie Cho are the first ones that are believable and well-rounded and fun to read. The very first ones, and they were introduced last year, basically. Well, as the Hulk.
By Greg Pak, who's Korean. Go figure.
Yeah, what do you know?
Can you guys think of any one of these doubles that you just don't care for? Or is just, or let me phrase it, not that you don't care for, but just does not work for you?
I want higher quality stories for the Cap, for Sam Wilson Cap. Having him 5 issues as, Wolf Cap is not funny to me. It's just not. It's too much.
I don't like the fact that when we have 2 Captain Americas, one of them has to be evil. Like, why do we have to make Steve evil? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we have 2 Captain Americas that are representing, different parts of the American ideal, the American experience? It's a big fucking tent,
That part literally is, I think, what they're exploring, and that doesn't bother me. The Wolf Cap went on too long. There were some interesting critiques of corporate culture through that book, like white supremacist corporate culture was a run to that.
I'm just saying,
but it went on too long.
That sort of stuff is gimmicky and funny for an episode, for an issue. 1 issue.
He was like Wolf Cap for 3?
3 or 4. It was dumb.
Yeah, it was too long. No, I can see that.
Even in his own book, it was actually the book about Nomad. Oh yeah, here's a little bit of Cap in the first run.
Oh, in the first one, yeah. Oh yeah, no, it was all Nomad with special guest star appearance by Black Captain America.
Right.
It just was not good.
So this is what I'm saying. I love the character. I want high quality stories. I don't think we're getting them.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not sure why. Well, actually, I am sure why. But so I mean, Iron Man is honestly sort of the most natural recipient of this multiple character treatment, because there is nothing particularly unique about being Iron Man. It's the suit, and at this point you can very much consider Tony Stark and Iron Man as almost 2 different people, because Tony Stark has his genius and his ambition and drive, and that's what makes Tony Stark special, and not the suit. And it has really been only Tony Stark's ego that has been preventing sort of, the launch of, an Iron Legion, for example. The only person he's willing to give the suit to other than himself is Rhodey, and then doesn't give him a good version of it, so he gets killed. Like, there's no reason why there shouldn't be 47 people, selected via psychological profile to, flying around in Iron Man suits.
I mean, they do that with this Sentinel, not with the Sentinels, but there was that Armored Core superhero response squad, but it's not the same thing. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And, he's done the whole, like, multiple suits are all controlled robotically and stuff,
Right. But that's not the same.
Yeah.
His control's not as good when that happens, too.
Yeah. And I will say, though, that, like, in one of the Iron Men that I have yet to finish reading, it's pretty clear that even Tony's most updated armor would not survive a punch from Thanos that happened. And that's one of the reasons why he's blaming Carol for it. Still, it doesn't have the same level of updates, but so I don't disagree.
What about you, Marty? Do you feel like there's a double out there that you just don't really care about or care for?
I'm thinking of the brief Daredevil 2099, and I don't think that really counts. But it was kind of like a mantle being passed down, and the twist was that Daredevil 2099 is the grandson of Wilson Fisk. I could care less. I don't have a problem with any of them. When it comes to like all the speedsters and that storyline that's going on The Flash right now, I'm kind of like, there's so much going on with The Flash. And as a relatively new fan, I'm having a hard time keeping up. So I'm kind of I've pulled back. In fact, I've dropped the title. There's just so much going on with that Speedster book and all the Team Flash that's just, it's not clicking for me. But I think that's more to do with the fact that I'm really new to The Flash.
I mean, the sort of the trick behind The Flash is that Almost every Flash writer out there has said the hardest part about writing the Flash is writing situations that the Flash can't solve in 1 page or less. And so, I mean, really, the only other people that can stand up to the Flash or keep up with him are other speedsters. Yeah. So the Flash always breeds like 17,000 speedsters.
Yep. So yeah, but that's very much what's going on now, and there's a lot of callbacks and tie-ins. And I'm like, I don't know.
Just watch the TV show. Who cares about the comics?
There's going to be a new one. I don't know. At least I'm pretty sure. I thought I saw this in one of my comics. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme.
Sounds like a band.
It might be. But a couple of, probably like 5 episodes ago, I mentioned my new favorite sorceress, the Wu, who's now just being shortened to Wu, I think. And it's like a cross between, it's literally like an homage. She's literally an homage, I think, to Hong Kong action flicks with magic. And I hope she is featured in this Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme book.
I know zero about this, but I really, really hope they gave Shaman from formerly of Alpha Flight turn at bat.
I have no idea who Shaman is.
He doesn't even get speaking lines most of the time. He's part of the Canadian super team. He's just like a background character.
I know who Alpha Flight is. They're part of they're guarding the planet with Carol. But I know Sasquatch and Puck and.
So Shaman is the First Nations magician.
Okay.
And that's his powers be magical.
He is not in space right now, I don't think.
When you say Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme, I'm saying I would love for him to get some screen time being magic-y, because that's what he does. In fact, I wish he was the Sorcerer Supreme, because I think he's much more interesting than anyone else who's magic.
I've never connected with Stephen Strange. Actually, with one exception. Was it 1602?
No, that makes sense. I haven't cared for him until this Jason Aaron book. So that's the only reason. The Aaron Bacalo masterpiece.
I will say that neither of you have connected with Doctor Strange because you've never gone back to the back issues like I have and read issue number 1 and 2 of The Defenders from 1972. And you should.
Was he in The Defenders?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he got the Defenders together. It was him and the Hulk and Silver Surfer?
In the first issue, which I read on the train this morning, it was Submariner falls out of the sky, lands in front of the Hulk. Hulk's like, what the fuck? Apparently I can't punch him and make him better. So, oh yeah, Doctor Strange. So he goes to Doctor Strange's bungalow and was like, hey, Doctor Strange, come help out. And he's like, all right, fucking whatever. And they go over there and they can't figure it out. And then the bad guy reveals himself. And then it's just them. It's just the Hulk punching out big bad guys. And Doctor Strange trying to fiddle with, this barrier to get Submariner back on his feet. And it's really funny and really weird. So, pick it up. That's my fake Pullbox Defenders number 1 from 1972.
I feel like a lot of this Doctor Strange stories focus on him screwing something up.
Yeah. No, he is like the worst parts of Reed Richards and Tony Stark, except, stealing from Asian culture to do so. So,
actually, I actually do like the Doctor Strange series that's out now.
Mm-hmm. That's one I do like, where we meet the Wu and the bear magician. He's like the Russian bear, and he's hilarious. But the Wu was my favorite one of those new Sorcerer Supreme introduced.
Why are there multiple Sorcerer Supremes now? Are they like coming from other parts of the multiverse?
No. So what happened is there is basically a hyper-technological race known as the Empire Call, and they basically go from dimension to dimension, world to world, and kill magic users. And they come to Earth and they fuck some shit up, and nobody sees it really because it's all taking place in like magical realms and with magical sight. And the source, all the magic people in the universe in Marvel 616 get together to stop them. And like some of the characters die in that, and but it's Wanda is part of the team, and so is who's that other? Magic is a part of the team, and Dr. Voodoo is back, so they do a whole bunch of stuff. Like they pull him from the Avengers to do the work. So, and basically what happens is the Empire Cole wins the first round, wipes out all magic, and then the people that I just mentioned band together to find whatever little bits remain to then figure out a way to beat them back, and how they win is disturbing. So I'll leave it at that. It's good. Well, I liked it, so I'll put it that way. It made me a little bit uncomfortable, but that's just, it might be because I'm trying to process it in a different sort of lens. So still, Jason Aaron doing magic. Jason Aaron gets like the cost of magic. So, and I appreciate that. So yeah, those are the Sorcerer Supremes, and it's I think it's coming out in December or maybe 2017. And that is our double mint gum. Now let's move on to my consistently favorite feature, our pull box. Tim, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I could do that. So I fired up Marvel Unlimited, like I do, and I kind of cruised through all the new issues, and nothing really stood out to me this week. Everything seemed kind of meh. And then I got a hold of Spider-Woman number 5, and I wasn't really that interested in that title, but everything else kind of sucked, frankly, for me. When I picked it up and I started reading, I was like, oh, this is why this is good. This was the issue where Spider-Woman, who is pregnant, is now post-pregnant. She has got a baby in her arms, and now all the mom feels are coming out. And she's like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be a superhero anymore. I've got this this life that I have to take care of. And she's just full of anxiety about it. And then her friends force her to go out. So it's a girls' night out. And we have none other than Porcupine being the babysitter.
Okay.
Former villain turned babysitter, and he's fantastic at it. Which I love the role reversal. It's fantastic. And at the end of it, she realizes she has to be a model for her baby, for her child. And so she, puts on the costume. She takes out Razorback. A new bad guy Razorback, who is a third stringer superhero at one point.
Razorback, as in, is he supposed to be part of the Serpent Society Razorback?
No. Like a Razorback pig.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's got a pig head and electrified spine.
Like you do if you're a pig. I know that the first time I saw a pig, I was terrified of its electric spines.
Yeah, And so she beats him senseless in front of Hawkeye, who shoots 5 arrows into him and does nothing.
Way to go, Clint.
And she says at one point, why didn't you bring the explodey arrows? We were just going for a walk. I don't know. So, good stuff. Spider-Woman number 5. Pick it up. It's light. It's funny. It's deep. It gets into motherhood. You don't normally get to see this sort of thing in the Marvel Universe, ever. So I think it's a really cool take. I kind of wish Hannah was here so she can talk about it, but oh well.
It's still going strong, I think. So that's good. Like, this is a long string for Jessica Drew. Okay, guys. Hold on to your butts. I got some pull box stuff to talk about.
What?
After months of people like Van and Nick and Tim and Hannah all telling me I need to watch Steven Universe, I finally made... I don't even remember what the deal was that I had Tim do.
You maybe sing a segment of Hamilton.
That's right. I am now, which I'm pretty sure our entire audience base thanks me for. You singing, not me singing. They whatever goodwill you endeared balanced out whatever awful I inspired. I watched Steven Universe. I am a big fan of Amethyst. I don't care for Steven all that much. Right now, he's annoying the shit out of me half the time. Like, I get it, you're a magical child, but just let Garnet and Amethyst and Pearl save the Earth. I'm interested to see where it goes.
What is it that annoys you?
You know, I can't put my finger on it because I've been thinking about this, right? Like, I am the guy who will defend the whiny teenagers because, like, I've worked with whiny teenagers and I get whiny teenager. And he's just, like, I don't know. I liked...
Well, he's not even when the show starts, he's not even a teenager.
I know,
Keep
which
that in
is
mind.
why, like...
He's 12.
Well, I know he's young. I don't know how young he is, but like, I can't tell you what's bothering me about him. But like, that was for the context of like, I deal with the children that nobody likes. I don't like Steven that much. I did like his song about Opal,
The Giant Woman.
the Giant Woman song. That was a great song.
Great song.
But like, I don't know what it about Steven that's bothering me.
Is the root of your dislike similar to your dislike of Squirrel Girl, where he's way too cute?
See, that was my first thought. And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, the difference between my dislike of Squirrel Girl is also a lot of like why I don't like a lot of Deadpool books. It's not the cutesiness of it, it's the wacky zaniness of it. But given the context of child's cartoon, it doesn't hit that switch for me, right? So that isn't it. It could be that like I'm more interested in like the history of the gems and what they've been doling out than I am to Steven. Like, I'm in a spot where we haven't really talked about rose quartz much.
We're on episode like 110, and we're still in a spot that they haven't talked about rose quartz much.
But like, we got like a whole bunch of stuff in the first like 6 or 7 episodes where it's like, they're on Earth and she met his dad and she gave up her life for Steven, which I'm like, that's pretty powerful and like amazing. And so far, I'm not going to say Steven wasn't worth it, but because that's just cruel. But the best way I can think of it is like, if Steven gets his girl in the fireplace moment, which if you're a Doctor Who fan, that was for me when David Tennant became my doctor. It's an amazing episode. And so far, Steven hasn't had an episode to me that's like, you're amazing. Like the whole willingness, like trying to bring the harmony about, I really appreciate.
So when the series starts, Steven is definitely a doofus. Like, he's 12, he's innocent, he, is filled with joy, but he's definitely like a doofus. A large part of the show is him trying to hold on to that sense of goodness and the desire to help others while he is also, while facing his loss of innocence, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's pretty powerful.
I honestly think that everyone has been hyping it up for me and it hasn't reached, like, the hype train has passed me by and I didn't get on.
How many episodes have you watched?
I've got, I think, 12 or 13.
You are pretty much right at the point where the show is going to start shifting gears.
Okay. When does Connie get introduced? When does that... Because that, for me, changed the tone. And it became a lot more enjoyable once Steven was hanging out with Connie a lot.
So Connie was introduced about 4 episodes ago for me. And he was trapped in the bubble with her. That was it. I liked that episode. And that's the kind of Steven stuff that I could deal with. But like the whole... when they introduce his lion and he's crawling through the sand, it's like, you don't understand. That's how you walk through the desert. I'm like, kid, that is not cool or cute or adorable. That is annoying as fuck. Like, I was just irritated by that. So. Oh,
you know what? It's season 2, episode 6, where we get sworn to the sword.
Oh yeah.
And for me, that was like, wow. This went from a fun show to a really... It kind of got me in the feels.
Okay.
The song in that one, "Do It for Her," is incredible.
I was kind of teary when
I could hear it in your voice. So I'm gonna keep watching because I'm gonna watch up to whatever I can watch, and then I'll make my So far, it's not a show that I will continue to watch out of my obligation that I made. It can change, and I can see why people like it. So far, it is not hitting it for me.
Is this a thing that happens with you frequently where people go, this is fucking awesome, and you hear it and you resist it, and then you're like, I'm not going to fucking watch that?
Okay. So I can list the things that I resisted. It's a Wonderful Life. I've gone 40 years without watching that movie, and I'll go another fucking 40 because I'm never watching It's a Wonderful Life. Steven Universe. Those are the two that like were hyped up. One that I caved on, and one that I will go to my grave never watching. But like when the Hamilton hype train, I was like, well, I don't really care for musical theater that much, despite being addicted to a handful of things. Jumped on that bandwagon really, really hard to the point where I'm picking up Leslie Odom Jr. and David Diggs' solo work. It's not terribly frequent where I get so obstinate where I'm like, oh, everybody else likes it, so I'm not going to like it. I think at this time, it's more like, you guys really, really like it, so I'm going to keep giving it a chance, I've tried really hard to not be the guy that's like, oh, now that this thing is super popular, I don't like it.
And ironically, I also try not to be that guy, but I'm resistant to Hamilton.
There are some your Facebook post about it had some extraordinarily good and insightful posts about why not. I have a cousin who hates it because he doesn't have the same like, that's cool, people are into it type of thing. He is very clear about what he likes, and what he likes is good, and what other people like is probably trash. So that's my take on Steven Universe, and I did a lot of thinking about it. I'll keep watching. I'll let you know if I say I'm done. But I have 2 comics in addition to the TV shows that we always talk about. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I've got a lot of stuff going on, so I haven't had a lot of time to read. But I made sure to read All New Wolverine Annual #1 and East of West #29. And let's start with East of West because it's the end of the second year arc. I'm not going to give away, but it's been something that we basically have been building up to for the previous 28 issues. And it's like incredibly touching when the moment finally happens. The story of East of West is about the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, how they turn on death, how they're going to rebuild some sort of world, and Death finally finds what he's been looking for. And it's adorable and sweet and lovely, and Hickman and Dragotta and Martin are doing some amazing work. And I know, Nick, it's not your cup of tea. It's Western influenced, but it's not a complete up Western. Although, honestly, the last page is like straight up a Western, like the hero riding off into the sunset, which does not bode well.
I like Westerns, and I like sci-fi. I just didn't like East of West.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. But it's got the it does very much have an iconic riding off into the sunset feel at the end of the book. Right before the epilogue. But now let's talk about All New Wolverine Annual #1 by Taylor, Takara, and Lopez. It's a body swapping issue. It's a body swapping issue between Spider-Gwen and Wolverine. It's a story that we have read I don't know how many times. I remember distinctly the Ultimate Spider-Man crossover with Ultimate Wolverine. It's really good. It's adorable. There's some fighting, there's some violence, there's 2 female characters like solving problems together and not being catty about shit because that's not how women are. The cover of this issue is like straight out of Reservoir Dogs, down to the Wolverine that's teamed up with them, like a legit, real furry Wolverine. There's also a new character sort of introduced. I just have to get his name right, because only 2 people can see him. That's Gwen in Laura's body, and Wolverhampton. It's what it sounds like. It's adorable, it's funny, it's poignant, it's good, it's beautifully drawn. Tom Taylor is killing it on this new Wolverine title. There's some cool pinups in the back, not pinups, but like concept art for what's going on next. And, the annual is a collection of backup stories. It can do a whole bunch of stuff, but this was just a really nice Civil War palate cleanser kind of, of issue that I kind of needed. And it just goes to show that the all-new Wolverine is just as much as Wolverine, just trying to be better, which is legit what Logan has said about Laura. So, I love it. Tim, in 6 months, you need to check it out.
Maybe I'll go pick up the flop. I might do that. I've purchased more floppies since getting Marvel Unlimited than I have in many, many years.
Yeah, working as intended.
That is a feature, not a bug.
Right. So that has been episode 60. Thanks for listening to All Comics Considered, the comic podcast with the heart. Mad props to our amazing sound engineer who really earned his money this time, Steve Jacoby, who makes us sound amazing. If you like what you heard, please rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. You can also follow us on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. On Facebook and Tumblr, you can find us at All Comics Considered, but on Twitter, we're at All Comics Cast. Any rating, review, like, share, reblog, follow, smoke signal, whatever you do helps widen our conversation so that we can bring in all of the best that comics have to offer. Your host has been Marty. You can always find me on Twitter at Officer Gleason and on Tumblr at One Pretentious Bastard. I'm legally Nick Fury.
Should we all do our Nick imitation?
Yes.
I've been legally Nick Fury. I'm producer Tim. You can find me at Tim Considers on Twitter. I also hang out in the All Comics Considered Facebook page. You can hear me yelling at white people at raceinvaders.org.
Thanks for listening, Action Heroes, and until next time, Hulk no make sandwich.